Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everybody. Today is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. This is live stream number 1028. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And I will usually pontificate a bit about our hobby also. But we're not engaged in any rocket surgery or anything along those lines. That is for sure. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. Plus, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours to be able to take part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe there's a question, maybe you've got a comment, possibly there's something you'd like me to chat about after the news segment. By all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. So first out the gate tonight is the Motor City Madman himself. That's right, the Madman is with us. Kathy Evans is also in the house, as is Russell Higgins and Tesco Love. And Jose Fernandez is also jumping on in. Got an action-packed, well, okay, maybe not action-packed, but I do have a packed show tonight. So let's get right on into it, because April's going to bring Starship Interstellar from Pendragon Game Studio. Here's what I know. 2357. In stark contrast to mankind's hopes, violent astronomical events and the unrelegated use of new solar extraction technology have greatly accelerated the growth rate of our star during the recent decades. Now the sun is nearing the end of its life cycle, and its fate, as any other star of its category, is to transform into a red giant. This will result in an exceptional increase in volume that will cause it to engulf Mercury, Venus, and possibly Earth itself. In the best case scenario, the increase in volume will stop short of our planet's destruction. But life as we know it would have already been destroyed due to radiation and the dramatic increase in the surface temperatures. Our only hope, as mankind, is to build a colossal interstellar spaceship that would allow a fraction of humanity to evacuate on a new Earth we've located in the TRAPPIST star system during our search for viable extrasolar planets. Such a project, however, is far from simple. The resources we need can't be found on our planet, and the few made available from the solar extraction technology are still insufficient. The only way to complete this monumental task is to harvest the materials needed directly from the other planets of our solar system. Every player will guide a nation with the aim of becoming the foremost contributor in the race for the interstellar spaceship. If mankind is to be saved, whichever nation will be deemed the greatest contributor will have the honor of guiding humanity on this new Earth. Starship Interstellar is for 1 to 4 players ages 13 and up, plays in around 150 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $99.95 when it lands in stores on April 5th. Very interesting. I should point out, it's not apparent from actually 4 of these 5 images. There are miniatures that are part of this. In fact, the image you're taking a look at now shows you some of them. They're kind of in the bit of a lower middle to the right. Each of the players gets, I believe that's that box you see, the blue and the orange boxes. I believe those hold the miniatures. Because you might be sitting there wondering, wait a second, $100? That doesn't look like a $100 game. It may not be a $100 game, but I'm just saying. It does have miniatures, and it does look really interesting. I've always been really fascinated by mankind having to leave Earth, being forced to evacuate the planet if we could possibly do it. To be honest, right now, there'd be no way. There would be no way we could get humanity off this rock and someplace, even if it was a generational ship that could search out new life or a new planet for us to occupy. But I always find myself kind of interested about like the transhumanism that would probably take for humanity to colonize another planet. I'm kind of up in the air about that. I know a lot of people are like all excited about transhumanism. And I, on the other hand, if we make so many changes to our species, then wouldn't we not be human anymore? Don't know. But this does look really interesting, so I thought I would share this news piece. And W. Forge and Chris Lundgren are with us in chat, as is 245 Trioxin. Good to see everybody. All right, let's talk about some role-playing game news, because the fantasy adventure campaign, The Tomb of Gaxx, is up on Kickstarter for Gaxx Worx and Gooey Cube. I've got the skinny. The Tomb of Gaxx Mega Adventure and the Gaxx. It's Gaxx. I said Gash. See, Gaxx just doesn't roll off the tongue now, does it? Anywho, The Tomb of Gaxx Mega Adventure and the Gaxx Environs Campaign Setting Box. Why didn't they just say Gaxx Campaign Setting Box? Will bring many tales that game masters and players will truly love. The adventure is challenging, lampoony, mysterious, and grimdark, and is set in a most intriguing and dangerous regional territory, and filled with many monsters, magics, and marvelousness that harkens back to the history of tabletop role-playing games. Together, the adventure and setting will provide many hours of gaming fun for your table. Now, you can use these materials in Gooey Cubes. Oh, that was a Gooey Cube. Did I say Gooey World? Well, I forgot to jot them down in the notes here. I'll have more on this in just a second, because neither one of these companies is actually displaying this on their websites. Anyway, you can use these materials in Gooey Cube's World of Zainth or Gygax's World of Orcorum. I'm sure I mispronounced both of those. Or adapt them to use in your own world that I would certainly mispronounce also, as you desire. Like all of their creations, the Tomb of Gaxx and Gaxx adventure and the environs of Gaxx and Gaxx campaign setting will bring an incredible array of adventures for your table to immerse and enthrall your players. Plus, the adventures and settings are always filled with full-color event and encounter art handouts, amazing NPC portraits, stunning full-color maps, fantastic magic item cards, game-enhancing gooey rewards cards. Are they sticky? I don't know. And so much more, all designed to help make your life easier as a game master and to help you run more experiential and fun games for your players. I'm not sure why the game would be experiential. Don't know. Do not know. But one thing I do know is there is a short, it's about a minute and a half, Kickstarter video. So let's take a peek.
The Tomb of Gaxx and Gaxx. We decided to collaborate to bring to you something very special.
An homage, yes?
An homage.
An homage.
An homage, if you would.
To honor the creator of the most amazing game that was ever made.
And it is called The Tomb of Gaxx and Gaxx.
Yes, ha ha ha! Your players will have the opportunity to visit this marvelous village.
It is where you will find Lukasz Gaxx and Gaxx and his family.
A sword-carrying fellow.
Absolutely, absolutely. A strapping and incredibly charismatic.
Very good-looking,
yes, indeed.
There they will meet the Gaxx and Gaxx family and perhaps be hired for a very important and yet dangerous quest to go to
the Tomb of Gaxx and Gaxx.
You will go there. Yes, your players will infiltrate it, but they might have to go to another place first, the nefarious and dark town, which is named Blood. If
Absolutely.
they know, they
If
know.
you don't know,
if
you
you
don't
don't know,
know.
you might know later. So listen, my friends, the Kickstarter is coming. Luke and I are going to go crazy with all kinds of amazing, wonderful
Stretch goals. We may not look flexible, but we're going to have stretch goals.
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't think I can even touch my toes.
New magic items, new creatures, new spells, all sorts of new and exciting things.
And an entire campaign, yes, that people can play as well.
That's right. The Tomb of Gaxx and Gaxx.
This project is past the 1,300% funding mark. And you can reserve a copy of the physical adventure for a $65 pledge. You can grab the digital adventure for a $55 pledge. If you want the physical adventure and the setting, the campaign setting together, it comes out to $200 as far as the pledge. If you want just the digital files, it's $185. And this is going to be available on Kickstarter through March 25th. From my understanding, this is a collector's edition. Now, there is not a standard edition for sale that I'm aware of, but this is supposed to be the collector's edition. And you get everything from the Kickstarter as far as stretch goals and things like that for the $200 pledge. Yes, I gotta be very honest. And Luke Gygax seems very nice. Interviewed him once. He has provided Elliot and I with free passes to cover Founders and Legends this month. And he's, if I remember correctly, I think he's a retired lieutenant colonel. And you see the guns on him. So I'm not trying to piss Luke Gygax off. But man, I don't know about the price on this. $200 for the physical. And I mean, we're not talking hardcover. It's coil bound. I think the environment book is coil bound and the adventure book, I think there's 2 books, 2 or 3 booklets. They're saddle stitched. So I don't know. I have no idea. Now, Chris Lundgren was asking about those miniatures. I believe this is regarding the miniatures. that we were talking about Starship Interstellar, asking if they're pre-painted or just hard to see. I think they're in solid color plastic. They are not painted. So we saw like a blue box and an orange box. And I think there are like 4, because it's a 4-player game. So there's 4 colors of miniatures. So I think they correspond with that plastic, with the plastic color corresponds with the faction color. So I think that is the case. They are not pre-painted as far as I could tell. Omanal is with us in chat asking, do knee replacements count as being transhuman? Just checking what box to put their father in. I had a buddy of mine, his dad had both knees replaced. Ouch. Yowza. And then one knee got infected. He had to go through it all over again. It was like, oh my gosh. W4 says, don't become more machine than man, twisted and evil. Also, Professor Dungeon Master is a character in this. In fact, a lot of people involved in the hobby are NPCs. Their likeness is used for the artwork. So I believe Luke Gygax's daughters are in it. Ed Greenwood. So yes, you are correct. And I think they've based some of the NPCs on real life people. So Chris says they were watching Professor Dungeon Master, and he and other RPG creators have themselves in the product as NPCs, as well as Luke Gygax. Yes, and of course, Luke's father, Gary Gygax, is, I think, a ghostly wizard. There you go. There's the image right there. There you go. Keith, the Gamer Geek, is with us. I believe it's a first-time visit in chat for Keith. Says, I think Luke Gygax is in the Army Reserve, if they remember right, and I am right on the rank. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is a lieutenant colonel. Omanal says they remember Luke being former military. Not sure if he still is. Well, he would still be former military. Once you're military, you're out, you're always former military. I guess Omanal's probably saying they're not sure if he's active is really, I think, what they meant to type. Hector Stafford is with us, says they have no problem with an expensive product if it's high quality and delivered on time. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to mention the price. I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from checking this out, because this could be really cool. And I am not familiar with Gooey Cube, but taking a peek at their website, looks like they've got some pretty cool stuff. And it appears that Gooey Cube is kind of producing this, as far as I can tell, because the style of what we've seen, like images and things like that, is their style. That's how they present their products. So I think that is who is producing this. Sly Blue Demon and Ichiban are with us tonight, as is Travis Williams. So welcome, everybody. Got a good chat rocking and rolling this evening. Let's move on to our next news piece, because celebrating the release of Dune Part 2 in theaters is Modiphius Entertainment and Humble Bundle, because they are offering you the Dune Adventures in the Imperium role-playing game bundle. I've got the deets on the deal. Tabletop role-playing adventure in Arrakis and beyond. Get ready for endless tabletop role-playing game adventure in Frank Herbert's visionary science fiction world with Dune Adventures in the Imperium. This bundle includes digital editions of everything you need to bring the mystery and intrigue of this beloved world to your gaming table. On top of the core rulebook, you'll get the Dune Agents of Dune Deluxe starter set, designed to get your group in the game with zero prep. Oh, I see there. Why did I have the bundle of holding pop up there?
The Tomb of...
Hey, whoops. Wait a second here. Let's get that on out of here. There we go. Anywho, I was going to say, now they actually consider Agents of Dune a starter set. They didn't really present it that way previously, although it's really what it is. Anyway, you'll get Agents of Dune, and you'll also get source books full of lore and crunch like Power and Pawns, the Emperor's Court, full of setting info and game options covering some of Dune's most powerful factions. Pay what you want for all this and more, and help support Charity Water with your purchase. Now, you can score the entirety of the Dune Adventures in the Imperium line. Seriously, it's everything for this role-playing game that's been released from Modiphius Entertainment for $18 or more, a donation of $18 or more through March 21st. And once again, your purchase does support Charity Water. I got to say, this is a rocking deal, as normally any of the Humble Bundles which feature role-playing games are. Wow, you usually get such an awesome deal with the Humble RPG bundles, and this is no exception, because you're not only getting all the major source books, you're also getting all the PDF releases for Dune Adventures in the Imperium that have been released to this point. So there are some shorter kind of one-shot adventures that have been released in PDF. It's all part of this too. Chris Lundgren asked, was there ever another Dune role-playing game back in the 80s? I am not familiar with there ever being a Dune role-playing game. There was the Dune board game, which was originally it was from Avalon Hill. So that came out in the 80s. And then I think there was a reprint of that not too long ago. And then, of course, there was the real-time strategy game for computer. So for PC, which was also Dune, it was actually an early real-time strategy. Keith the Gamer Geek says the spice must flow. Tesco Love says, if you want the Dune physical books, get them now, because some of them are already sold out. Something else that's part of this bundle is a coupon to get 50% off the physical books. So if you order from Modiphius Entertainment, you will get half off of your order. Pretty nice. Oh, Sly Blue Demon just mentioned that in chat there. Very nice. Very nice. So Keith the Gamer Geek says, yes, there was a Dune role-playing game made by Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight used to make games? I didn't know that. W. Forge says there was a Dune role-playing game that was never released by Last Unicorn Games in the 90s. Yeah, okay. So that is the discussion that's going on. So W. Forge says it was never released. Keith the Gamer Geek is saying that it did come out in the early noughts from Last Unicorn Games. I don't know. I had always heard, prior to, of course, Modiphius Entertainment releasing Dune Adventures in the Imperium, that the Herbert family was not real keen on gaming licenses. I don't know if that's true or not. It was just something I had heard kind of through the grapevine. Speaking of gaming licenses, Steamforged Games has released RuneScape Kingdoms, the role-playing game. And here is the scoop. The legendary MMORPG comes to your tabletop. With this fully illustrated role-playing core book, you can bring iconic RuneScape and old-school RuneScape quests and lore to life in a whole new way. For over 20 years, millions of gamers have explored, crafted, and dueled their way across Gielinor. Don't know how to pronounce it. I have never played RuneScape. So there you have it. Sure, I mispronounced it. I mean, no offense to the RuneScape fans out there. Now you can bring the thrill of iconic RuneScape and old-school RuneScape quests and lore to your tabletop. All you need is a handful of dice, a few friends, and some people and pencils. Featuring a specially crafted system that captures the essence of RuneScape and an in-depth guide to the world of Gielinor. Taking a stab at that one. Let's stick with that pronunciation, so at least I'm not mispronouncing it in a variety of different ways. This complete core book has everything a budding scraper knows. Let me see. Didn't it seem like that image just sat there forever? I was like, what the hell's going on? Change. Get off me. Get off me. This complete core book has everything a budding scaper needs to run for authentic RuneScape role-playing campaigns. Whether you're a seasoned game master or just dipping your toes into the world of role-playing, this book has you covered. With full character creation rules, an extensive crafting system, iconic weapons and spells, and a bestiary teeming with monsters and bosses you'll learn to love and hate all over again, plus tips and tricks for game masters. All of Gielinor is yours to encounter. This fully illustrated hardback book contains everything a potential RuneScape noob needs to get started. There's a comprehensive guide to Gielinor filled with classic RuneScape locations and lore. Everything you need to play all in one book, a lifetime of adventure at your fingertips. Full character generation rules. Build your new hero exactly as you want them. Complete core rules. There's an elegant 3D6 system crafted to capture the essence of RuneScape. Easy to learn for players and game masters alike. There's magic, prayer, and summoning. A full guide to the mighty forces you can unleash on your enemies. Crafting and equipment, fishing, mining, smithing. It's all here. There's game master advice with an array of tips and tricks for running games that feel like RuneScape brought to life, as well as an extensive bestiary, iconic characters, NPCs, and bosses you'll learn to love and hate. Over 200 pages of RuneScape role-playing content for infinite hours of play. So, don your favorite cape, check your inventory's got enough space for loot, and get ready to max out your legend. This 214-page hardcover is now available in stores. Carries an MSRP of $39.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $19.99. Sweet. Got to be very honest, I know nothing about RuneScape. Never played it, ever. I can understand it is a fantasy game, and that is it. So there is some discussion about the Star Trek license. And Decipher, yes, when Decipher had their collectible card game for Star Trek, that wasn't a bad game. It was all right. My best friend, Elliot Miller, huge Star Trek fan, especially back then. So we played quite a bit of the Star Trek collectible card game. It wasn't all that good at it. To me, for some reason, it didn't click mechanically for me. But anyway, so RuneScape Kingdoms is now available in print and PDF. Talking about something else that's available now in PDF is A Life Well Lived for 5e D&D. And here's the latest from Cubicle 7 Games. Explore what your adventurers get up to before, after, and in between dungeon crawling. From small moments of bonding around the campfire while crafting potions, to life events such as running a business, starting a family, and ultimately retiring. Until trouble comes knocking. A Life Well Lived is a companion to Cubicle 7's Uncharted Journeys and forthcoming C7D20 titles. These lovingly crafted volumes combine to enrich all pillars of 5e gameplay and give you the tools and advice you need to tailor your game to the specific tabletop experience your heart desires. Discover who your character was before their adventuring days began, and how delving into dungeons and slaying dragons has changed them once they hang up their sword. Create a sense of kinship with your party members, creating bonds that tie them together and preparing each other for the adventures ahead. Take on activities in between adventures, from cooking hearty meals to weaving entertaining tales for local villagers to foraging for ingredients to concoct helpful potions and deadly poisons. Discover what your characters get up to after their adventures are over. Rogues planning a meticulous heist, nobles pressing the flesh at high society parties, Dragonborn returning to the clan to carry on the family line, and more. Create characters who can provide backstory, benefits, and complications to your players' lives. Who helped you become the person you are today? Who aids your current plight against evil overlords? Who is waiting on your return from adventures epic and perilous? Create your own base, a place your characters can return to after a fight to recuperate, relax, and prepare for the next adventure. Find out who really pulls the strings with the new patron system. Discover the benefits, the connections, the red tape, and the reputation that come with servitude to a person or organization behind your next escapade. This 144-page PDF is available over at DriveThruRPG for $27.99. Yes. Flaming Heron is with us, hanging out on their phone, as sounds like their computer is under the weather. Wow, that sucks. Always hate when that happens. Well, you know, I had the recent issue with the laptop. So Flaming Heron says it's a problem with their secondary hard drive, but it's preventing the PC from loading. That sucks. Sly Blue Demon says, well, the spice must flow. They just grabbed the 2D20 books they didn't have for Dune. Nice. Very nice. Tesco Love says, the link some people go to make D&D not like D&D. So, absolutely no offense to anybody out there who is interested in a life well lived, because I know a lot of people were really looking forward to this coming out. So now it is out in PDF. It's not out in print yet. Usually what we see with Cubicle 7 Entertainment is they'll release the PDF and then print doesn't come for at least 6 months, because a lot of times they actually use that PDF kind of as an alpha, or I guess we would say a beta, really, for people to, check for problems, grammatical errors and things like that. But as Tesco Love points out, I think this book is one of the problems that we have with role-playing games right now, especially with Dungeons and Dragons. And I've talked about this before, and we can get into this a little bit more after the break. And to me, it just seems as if nobody wants to have the backstory of their characters develop by way of the actual adventures. That the adventuring at the game table has taken a back seat to the focus on the characters. It's all about the characters. And a great many role players out there don't care about the party dynamic. They care, about the character. And I have to chuckle because it's sort of like, so wait a second. So you're trying to say the 80s was the me generation? Because I tell you what, this time we're in right now puts the me generation to shame. I think this is the me generation. Anywho, Chris Lundgren says, give them Osric over 5th edition, but they'll play 5e in a pinch. So Flaming Heron says that they use it purely for the downtime. I'm not sure what Flaming Heron was talking about. Anywho, all right. So that is the news tonight. Pretty eclectic mix, I must say. Now, of course, I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG, Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, Wargame Vault, any of those sites, please stop by at thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do go a long way to helping to keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, we are in the midst of the GM's Day sale. Yesterday was GM's Day. And I believe we still have a week left. And you can save up to 40% on literally, and yes, I know how to properly use that word, literally tens of thousands of PDFs. So by all means, take a peek. I also had noticed, I think for this sale, there are some bundles. There's PDF virtual tabletop bundles. So it's for, I'm trying to think what I saw. I'm not going to remember. But you would get the core book, and you also got the Roll20 bundle for it. And they are, I think, 80% off. So there are a handful of those floating around too. So Chris says, I don't think it's always about caring about their PC. It's just they don't have any independence to think out of the box. Yeah. They've been taught that's how you play role-playing games. Keith the Gamer Geek says, you got that right, Jeff. I love the idea of developing backstory through the character sheet and gameplay instead of getting 10 pages of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. You don't get no Elizabeth Barrett Browning. You don't even get Stephanie Myers. Can't believe that name came out of my mouth. Why, am I sparkling yet? But yes, awful. Just absolutely awful. Age is with us. Age is with me all the time. But Age is with us in chat. I believe it is a first-time visit. Welcome aboard. Travis Williams says, Critical Role has also infected new players into thinking they need to write a novel about who their character is. Yeah, you know what? We'll get into this. We'll get into this in just a little bit. Anyway, so I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Of course, don't forget, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/ the Gaming Gang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Refreshing. And I have to say, our good friend of the show, the Madman, recently stopped by paypal.me/the Gaming Gang and made a not small donation. So thank you to all of you out there who use the banner ads and or stop by paypal.me/the Gaming Gang. Thank you very, very much. It is highly, highly appreciated. So the Gaming Gang Dispatch will continue in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Well, you see what I get from the refreshment counter. Oh boy, popcorn and candy bars and ice cream and oh boy, sparkling ice cold Coca-Cola. Oh boy, that tastes good. Have you been to the refreshment counter?
Remember, your favorite snack will taste especially good with world-famous ice-cold Coca-Cola.
Introducing Munchos from Frito-Lay. It's the all-new potato snack, not a potato chip, a potato crisp.
Munchos?
You see, there's more to a Muncho. They're thicker than potato chips, so they're crisper with more potato flavor.
Munchos!
I wish you'd try to control yourself.
Munchos!
Well, as I said, there's more to a Muncho. Wilkins decaffeinated coffee lets you sleep.
Not me. I don't drink it.
It lets everybody sleep.
Here's how to remember the Green Cross code. First, find a safe place to cross, then stop. Stand on the pavement near the curb. Look all round for traffic and listen. If traffic is coming, let it pass. When there is no traffic near, walk straight across the road. Keep looking and listening for traffic while you cross.
Stay!
Well, now we'll all remember the Green Cross code. And use it. Splink!
Now Alvin will never get my sugar crisp. Start your day a little bit better. Start your day with sugar crisp from Post. For breakfast it's dandy. For snacks it's like candy. Sugar Crisp, the sweet treat with the strength of wheat.
That's right, kids. It's the sweet treat with the strength of wheat. Us muscle men get more muscles eating those wholesome puffs of sugar and honey and whole wheat. Start your day a little bit better. Start your day with Sugar Crisp from Post. Sugar and honey make it a sweet treat. Better start out with the most. Get the treat with the strength of wheat.
Sugar Crisp.
As you can see, I have concerns about our viewers across the pond crossing the street. Because if you've watched the past few episodes of the Dispatch, you know that was the second time I've shared something for the Green Cross Man? And yes, it was John Pertwee for the win. The third Doctor himself with Splink. Who the hell is going to remember that? And I had to laugh because it was like, they're showing each letter and it's sort of like, so, you do realize that the first word in that next sentence did not start with that letter. It's like, okay. And that was not the Cookie Monster. The Cookie Monster is blue. The Munchos monster there was purple. So there is that. The Madman says they haven't had Munchos in forever. Forever. Funny enough, you go to the grocery store and they carry them at our local grocery stores. And you'll be looking at, the bags of potato chips are like $5, $6. And then you'll see the bag of Munchos and it'll say $2. And you're like, yeah, I guess I'm going to get some Munchos. I mean, they're fine. They're okay. They're not potato chips. They are potato crisps. But they are still made out of potatoes. Very nice. Let's see. We've got someone else who just popped in. JD Sewell 3002, which, gotta say, that nickname is not ringing a bell. So it might be a first-time visit here in chat. So welcome aboard. If I have not said hello to anybody in chat, I do apologize. I usually try my best to say hello to everyone who has swung on in. So JD had mentioned that the brief intermissions makes them miss drive-in theaters. I think we only still have one in the Chicago area. One only. There had been one in, it was either St. Charles or West Chicago, which there's suburbs that are right next to each other. And they're not close to the city, even though it's West Chicago, it is not close by. And there was one there for a long time. I went to that a few times, and that is gone. I forget, I think the only remaining drive-in theater in the Chicago area is actually south of the city, in the southern suburbs. Very nice, very nice. Other thing I wanted to mention about the brief intermission was, am I the only one who really can't understand what the hell Alvin's saying most of the time? Is it just me? Especially old Alvin and the Chipmunks. Because the reality is, I haven't seen any new Alvin and the Chipmunks in a long, long time. So Sarah D says there's a drive-in near her. Hello, Sarah D, another of our chat moderators. So all three of our chat moderators are hanging out in chat. Well, so if there's a drive-in theater near Sarah D, that means there's a drive-in theater near me, because I don't live that far away from Miss Sarah D and Mr. Eddie T. All righty. Let's see. Flaming Huron also points out something I was going to mention. Hopefully that you have voted for the role-playing games in the March Tabletop Role-Playing Game Madness, which is going on all throughout this month. The first round will end on the 7th. Now, I do believe the first round ends at midnight on the 7th. So you don't have much more time to get your votes in. And it is a bracket-style contest. There are 2 divisions. I think a lot of people out there didn't realize there are 2 links for you to click on for each of the divisions. One is the Arneson division. The other is the Gygax division. Because there really is a discrepancy in the number of votes between the 2, about 10, I think, on each. But here's a few things to point out. Number 1, I have no idea what the vote counts are. I'm just as in the dark as everybody else. All I know is the number of votes. So if you have not voted and you are going to vote, be sure to vote for each of the brackets. So each of the matchups, choose one of the games, even if you don't care about either one. Don't care about either one of those role-playing games. Pick one of them, though. So I think some people, especially if you're not here in the U.S., they don't know how these brackets work, how these bracket showdowns work, like NCAA March Madness basketball, right? Because I don't think maybe they do knockout stages in some sports in Europe, but I don't think they start off with 64 teams. Well, 66 really, because you have the two teams that have a play-in, right? So Sarah D says, yep, it's just on the highway from me. Well, I'll have to take a peek, because what I used to do, and I didn't have really anything exciting going on a summer evening, I'd drive over to the drive-in, pick up some snacks, just sit on the hood of my car. You figure nowadays, since everything comes through the radio, I wonder if you could actually use like your headphones. You know, if you've got, wireless cans, Bluetooth cans, which I do, or, earbuds, listen through your phone. Kind of curious. So Sly Blue Demon asks, where do we vote? So if you look at the community section of the channel, it's not too far down. You will see I had posted there. Now, when we move to the next round, I'm going to post again. I will post those links again. And if there's anything that I happen to see that kind of pops out at me like, wow, I can't believe XYZ game beat ABC game, I will mention that. So if you are not sure what this is all about, essentially what happens is the winning role-playing game is going to be the game that I will run beginning sometime in April. Now, I should also point out that the game sale has begun. So I did launch the game sale on Sunday. If you don't follow me on social media, you don't, take a peek at the community page here. Maybe you get a lot of notifications on YouTube, so, you don't see it. That has launched. The sale is going on. And I actually hand-delivered some games yesterday to a gentleman named Brian who watches the videos here on the channel. I thought that was kind of cool. So he was asking how, because remember I said that I would be looking to run the role-playing game that wins this March TTRPG challenge. And I had said, well, the reality is I'm going to try to do it locally. And I'm going to float out the opportunity for those who watch the show who are in the area, because I know there are a few, if they want to get involved, if they want to play. And of course, he was like, that's pretty cool, because they're interested and they might have some people also interested. So anyway, so that's what I'm planning on doing if I can get 4 or more people. If I can't get 4 or more, I'll just be doing it online. So Flaming Heron says, hand-delivered? Yeah, I went down the street to a pharmacy down the street in the parking lot and dropped it off there. I had to go to that pharmacy anyway. So, yes. Something else I should mention is if you follow me on social media, I posted yesterday that this can be very frustrating. Doing what I do can be very frustrating because from time to time, you go through a period where it seems like all you do is deal with idiots. And you feel very underappreciated. And anyone who makes any kind of content that they put out online can understand where I'm coming from with this. Because everybody's a fucking critic. Everybody knows more than you do. Everybody's got a beef with you. Now, the reality is it's not everyone. But the whiners and the complainers and the whingers make up a good percentage of people who comment. Now, normally, if it's a super rude comment on a video, I just delete it and block that person. Or what is it now? You hide them from the channel, because I don't think you can really block people on YouTube anymore. So the madman says, Jeff, you know, I'd be all in to play if they lived by me. Well, I'd be all in to be playing stuff you run too, sir. If you lived by me. Anyway. So I got like 2 or 3 just real shitty comments on videos within about a 24-hour period. Then I had someone, a new marketing person for a company who is like, doesn't understand, you know, sharing videos of stuff you've covered for their company in a relatively timely manner. So it's like, yeah, okay. And then I had someone else from a publisher send me an email that I had posted a news piece saying that something was out in PDF, but I did not put that it was out in print. And the email I got back was kind of snippy. And it wasn't, hey, Jeff, thanks for sharing that news piece, but I just want to let you know the book is out in print. You know, something along those lines, right? No, it was, hey, the book's out in print. Like, hey, you idiot. So yesterday I had mentioned, I said, you know, it's getting to the point where one of these days I'm just going to say, fuck it. And I'll be like, I'm done. That's it. I'm finished. And then this guy, Brian, I was talking to yesterday that I dropped the games off for was very complimentary. I got a comment on a video today that was very complimentary. And then it's sort of like, okay, I feel better. Thank you. Flaming Aaron says, a timely manner, you're one person. No, I mean the content that I put out. That they like to spread things out from content creators. It's like, yeah, okay. But the thing is, if I post something, if I share a video and you don't get around to sharing it for 2 weeks, then don't come crying to me that you don't have the views on the video that you expected to get. See, and I'm not going to harp on this whole marketing thing like I have quite often in the past, but I swear it's like these people couldn't find their asses with both hands. It's kind of like, do you not understand the point of you sending me a review copy is not necessarily for me to just share it with my audience, and that's it. You know, so it's like, what's wrong with these people? Anyway, so I was sitting there like, yeah. Anyway, do not miss out on the game sale. I've got lots and lots of stuff on up at really cheap prices. And I've actually sold, I don't know, about 20 items, I think, so far. I started off with close to 200 items overall. And depending how this goes, I actually stumbled across a box of role-playing game stuff that I didn't put up for sale. So if the sale goes pretty well, maybe a little later on in the month, I'll add some other items to it. But having said that, don't sit around waiting to like get stuff because you're like, well, I want to see what else Jeff puts out there. You know, that way, I save on shipping, which I understand. I can understand that. Although the shipping prices have come down a little bit, especially on the post office, the U.S. Post Office. But things go quick. So there were some items because it's essentially first come, first served. So if I get an email and it says, oh, Jeff, I'm interested in getting this and this, and then 20 minutes later I get an email saying that somebody's interested in the same items, the first email that came in, they've got dibs. So as long as they pay, then that's it. And I was shocked. There were quite a few things that had kind of got mentioned multiple times. I was like, wow, no, sorry, it's already sold. And I do my best to try to get on there and put a strike through items which is sold and indicate that they are sold. But yeah, I'm not a store. My focus isn't going in there and making sure that that's like correct every moment of the day. Flaming Aaron said they were actually set to buy something and damn that shipping. I get it. I completely get it. Chris Lundgren says, Jeff, your videos bring joy to me and my wife. We watch together. It's your honesty we admire. Well, I got to be honest. My real name's not Jeff. I don't live in Illinois. It's all a sham. I'm kidding. I'm just joking. So as I mentioned, before we went into the brief intermission, let's talk a little bit about two things having to do with role-playing games tonight. In fact, I think it was Chris who asked if I know anything about Goblinoid Games. I don't know jack. I've heard of the company. I have never had any sort of interaction with them at all. I've never reviewed any of their products. I don't know anything about them. So Chris had mentioned that the owner is ghosting people. I don't know if that's because there was a Kickstarter that's unfulfilled or something. I do not know. Chris also asks, what's my thought on print on demand on Lulu versus drive-through RPG? What about the quality differences? So, yeah. And Flaming Heron says, you don't follow the Cubs either? No, I'm not a Cubs fan at all. I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan. No, I am not. I don't even really care about the Cardinals. I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, well, I hate that team, because they're rivals. I don't root for them, obviously enough, and I root for them to lose, but it's not like I'm like, oh, that guy played for the Cardinals. I hate that guy, even though he's with the Yankees now. No, absolutely not. As far as the print-on-demand quality, I have not gotten something from Lulu in a long time. So I do believe the copy of Osric I have came from Lulu. And I also had gotten a copy of the Fletcher Pratt Naval War Game Rules, which was a soft cover, about an A5 size soft cover. And it was awful. But it was not necessarily Lulu's fault. It was the person who'd created the digital file that was being used. So if you're not familiar with Knights and Magic, it's an old miniatures system. It's a historical or fantasy miniature system from Heritage Models, which I own the rights to now. Not Heritage Models, just the rules, Knights and Magic. And it is available as print on demand from Lulu. At some time in the future, I will probably move it over to Drive-Thru RPG, though. But I am in the midst of trying to clean the files up. But I remember the tables that you use in Fletcher Pratt's couldn't make them out because they were so fuzzy. And obviously they had been like scanned as an image, and then the image was, kind of like zoomed in on. So it was just absolutely awful. And there was some sort of a digital problem where all these like weird icons popped up all over the pages. So rather than an apostrophe, you would have this question mark in a black black diamond, I should say. Or instead of an exclamation point, you just had a black diamond. It was so messed up. In fact, I did a written review of the book and just savaged it. Because not only did I not think the book was all that great, the content in it, it was just an absolute mess to try to comprehend anything. And it was relatively useless because the armor penetration tables, you couldn't make out. You couldn't make them out at all. But like I said, I don't think that was Lulu's fault. So I would think between the two, the print-on-demand quality is probably very similar. Kevin King is with us. So anyway, so the topics, I guess I was going to say, they're kind of tied together, I guess. So one was the focus on players' characters and all of their backstory and experiences and things like that, that just don't have anything to do with what's going on at the game table. So Keith the Gamer Geek is rocking on out. Good to see you. Thanks for popping on in. And I find it irritating because as a game master, you are expected to have to incorporate this kind of stuff into your campaign, or even if it's a one-shot adventure, because people have sat there and invested all this time and energy into the backstories of their characters. You know, back in the day, well, I shouldn't even say back in the day. If we went back to, say, 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons, far more people were concerned about min-maxing their characters than they were with the backstory. They were sort of like, oh, yeah, okay, so it's a elven druid. Okay. Grew up in the forest. Yeah, that's about right. Well, the min-maxing just isn't as much of a thing anymore. It's all the backstory. And that's why I had mentioned that a life well lived, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking the creators, the folks over at Vault 5e. It's kind of, I guess, an offshoot of Cubicle 7. I have no beef with them. But this is the kind of stuff that just kind of just fuels this nonsense, this failed novelist syndrome that people have with the role-playing characters. It's like, as the game master, I'm running the adventure. I want the adventure and your experiences during the adventure or the campaign to influence the backstory of your character. That should be the backstory of the character. The stuff you came up with sitting at home for 3 hours on your laptop shouldn't really matter. But unfortunately, these days, that is a thing. And as it was mentioned in chat, yes, Critical Role has a bit to do with that. Because, and that also leads into my other topic that I wanted to touch on tonight, which I'll be very honest, I don't really know if it's true or not. But supposedly there is this shortage of game masters out there, that there just aren't game masters out there to run games. And I don't know if part of this is just more clickbait nonsense, because we see that a lot. We see that a ton. Where it's like, oh, let's come up with a crisis that does not exist and share articles and videos about it, where the reality is you watch a 15-minute video and all they basically do is spin their wheels. And it was just, it was just clickbait to get you to watch their channel for a little bit. Chris Lundgren says, blame that on WotC. They push that narrative. They do a bit of a hybrid. They give their players general adventure setting background. Once they create a PC, they can create ideas, but they have to run it by them first. W4 says, I don't mind character backstories, but they should be used as hooks for GMs to involve PCs in the adventure. Right. I have no issue with that. I don't have a problem with backstories. I have a problem with 5-page backstories. I don't need that. Just like when I'm running a role-playing game adventure, I don't need to know, let's say it's a dungeon delve or something, right? I don't need to know all the things that happened in that bedroom prior to the adventurers getting there that have nothing to do with the adventure and nothing to do with that group of players' experience. But once again, it's that failed novelist syndrome that we see, sadly enough, in a lot of role-playing game products. I mean, far, far too many. But like I said, I'm kind of curious about the shortage of game masters. So Chris says there's a huge shortage of 5e dungeon masters, not other GMs for other games in their area. See, now, that guy Brian I was talking to yesterday was saying that they wanted to play Call of Cthulhu. They just couldn't find anybody running it. So I would think in this area, at least, we probably have plenty of 5e dungeon masters, but not people running other role-playing games. Flaming Heron says, 5-page backstory, tearing that shit up. Chris said, 5e isn't DM friendly like other role-playing games. It's player friendly, not dungeon master friendly. Okay, so I would not necessarily agree with that. I would say that it leaves far too much to hand-waving by the dungeon master. I would certainly say that. And there's far too much abstraction in the 5e rules as far as the dungeon master goes. But I don't think it's unfriendly to a dungeon master. But yes, 5e is geared toward the players. The reality is the vast majority of role-playing games are geared toward the players simply because there's more of them than the game masters. So, Garland's with us. I don't mind even a long backstory as long as it's understood that I may have to fit it to the setting, and anything you detail, I get to. Nice. See, I grew up back in the day where it's like, okay, create your characters and let's play. Let's go. And then almost all of your backstory came from playing the game as opposed to, oh, well, I think part of it too comes from the point where when Dungeons and Dragons and a lot of other role-playing games were first coming out, players didn't know anything about the setting. So they could understand, oh, okay, so I'm an elf, I'm a dwarf, oh, I'm a hobbit. Okie doke. Oh, I get to cast magic spells. These are the spells I know right now. Oh, okay. Sweet. Be like, Greyhawk. What is that, a car? Is that a brand of car? Is that the make or the model of the car? Greyhawk? But I'm kind of curious. Is there really a shortage of game masters out there? Sly Blue Demon says there's only 5e game masters in their area. See, and I believe that. I believe that. And I would also believe that the vast majority of the game masters in Sky Blue Demon's area and everyone else's area, including mine, are pretty bad. And I would also take a stab in the dark that the great majority of the players in these areas are also pretty bad. And Jack Hanks is with us. I'm not sure if I said hello to Jack or not. I know Jack has been here for a little bit. Now, the thing is, you hear me say this all the time. It's like, you know what? You knock yourself out playing whatever role-playing game you want, the way you want, right? I'm not here to tell you you are having wrong fun. As long as no one gets their eye poked out at the table, no one has hard feelings or has their feelings trampled at the table, do what you want, play what you want. But the reality is that in a lot of ways, Critical Role and the other actual plays that are out there, and I'm not just saying 5e D&D, there are actual plays for a lot of various role-playing games, some of which are endorsed or sponsored by their publisher, that game's publisher. There are a lot of actual plays out there that just are complete, utter dog shit. And unfortunately, put the wrong impression into potential players' heads of what a role-playing game is. Now, of course, I've talked about it before. I have no hatred of Critical Role. People think Jeff hates Critical Role. I have absolutely nothing against Critical Role or anyone associated with it or anyone who watches it. I just have never watched it. I think I've watched all of 3 minutes of an episode one time, and I thought, yeah, just isn't for me. And I don't know, maybe that's a game master thing. I'm kind of curious. I would be very interested in a poll of actual play viewers who watch religiously. How many of them are players opposed to game masters? Because I would think common sense would tell you, it's probably game masters watching a lot so they can get a better feel for how to run the game. But the thing is, usually watching the actual plays, the vast majority of actual plays aren't really showing you how the game is played. It's just how it is. Jack Hanks says, the Amazon show is awesome. I'm not sure what show Jack might be talking about. Madman says they're the forever DM GM for 2 of 3 groups. So wait a second, you actually get to play in one of the groups? They also GM the third at times to give the usual GM a break. But, like I was asking, I don't know if there is a shortage of game masters out there or not. I don't know if it, like I said, if this is just, here's a topic to drive clicks and drive views. But it seems to me, from at least what I've heard around where I live, there isn't a shortage of 5e dungeon masters by any stretch. It's everything else. Carolyn says they run one table and play at another currently. I would love that opportunity. I certainly would. Kevin King says several players from high school and college groups taught their kids to GM, as did we. There's no shortage there. Flaming Heron says it's a shortage of non-Dungeons & Dragons game masters. See, that's what I would think. I would think, yes, and as Flaming Heron points out, 5e. Because I'm sure it's pretty tough sledding if you want to play some OD&D or AD&D. Probably not finding too many game masters out there to do that. Which also leads into another topic, and I'll wrap up because I don't want the show to be too long tonight. The professional game master thing. To me, it just feels, and this is going to be a weird word to use, it feels icky. Yeah, I'm a professional game master. I'm a professional dungeon master. When people say that, and keep in mind, I'm invested in this hobby. But when I see someone saying that online, I think to myself, are you a fucking idiot? I'm a professional dungeon master. People pay me $25 a session for me to run games. It's like, okay. I thought professional dog walker was bad. They actually do provide a service. And once again, I'm not knocking people who are out there running role-playing games and getting paid to do it. No issue with that whatsoever. But to sit there and be like, I'm a professional dungeon master. And be like, people should be impressed by that. It's kind of like, what? Oh, yes. Sly Blue Demon says, not a fan of pro dungeon masters. Turns a game into a fun thing to do a fun thing to do to a service. If I'm paying for a game, it better be really good. See, that's the other thing. That's the other thing I would think. If I'm shelling out money to play in somebody's game, that better be a magical experience. W. Ford says, yeah, I'm not sold on professional dungeon masters. I always feel funny about paying for a game that's supposed to just be fun. Now, I could understand if you had a group of people and you didn't play. They were not like a gaming group. Maybe they were co-workers, right? And I think this is how Keith Amon, I think that's how he pronounces his last name, got started running 5e D&D, which led him to his blog, The Monsters Know What They're Doing, which led to his books and so on. I think it was his wife came home from work one day and said, yeah, they were talking about somebody had commented that some client looked like the sort of guy who would sit around his basement playing Dungeons and Dragons. And one of her coworkers had said, I would totally play Dungeons and Dragons. Like one person was making fun of it, and then someone else was sitting there saying, no, I would really like to do that. So then I guess it turned out that there were people that she worked with who wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. So she had asked her husband if he would run Dungeons and Dragons. And I guess at the time he ran GURPS. I don't know why GURPS has such love. Well, actually, it doesn't have such love. GURPS is like Palladium. If you're a fan of GURPS, if you're a fan of Rifts or other Palladium fantasy, things like that, you're just like super gung-ho. It's like no other game can compare to that game. And I don't know why, because it's been a long time since I've seen Palladium's mechanics. But I used to buy GURPS stuff, never ran it, another one of those games that I would just buy. So Matthew is creating tabletop role-playing games, is hanging out with us in chat. Good to see you. But he ended up running D&D for these folks, and that's what led into all of this stuff. So what I'm saying is, if you had a group of people, like I said, maybe they're coworkers, maybe they're part of the community for whatever reason, and you decide you're going to play a role-playing game and you've got experience as a game master, so you're going to be the game master. I could understand being the game master, having everybody kick in to buy you the core book or core books or whatever materials you needed to get the game up and running. I could easily see that. Now, would that make you a professional game master? No. But when I was far younger, a lot of times I would have my players kick in to purchase an adventure or a campaign book or what have you. And, simply because they were going to enjoy the game as much or more than I would. So I thought it was fair that everybody needed to kick in to go buy stuff, as opposed to it just was coming out of my pocket. Rogue Thinker is with us, says GURPS is not like Palladium. I never said it was. I just compared people who are into those games, how fiercely loyal they are. Rogue Thinker says, GURPS is good, not my favorite system. GURPS is fine. It's not like I hate it. I'm just saying it wouldn't be that. Like Sly Blue Demon says, Riffs, great game. Jack Hank says, I love Riffs, dislike their rules. I dislike their owner far more. Anyway, Kevin King says, tried talking a friend into trying Savage Riffs this past weekend, but no luck. And he's been playing Palladium for 3 decades. Yeah, that's weird. Because it'd be like, well, you're getting to play Riffs. Just different system. It's Savage Worlds, man. Garland says, I've had players buy games and bring them to me to run before. Yeah, to me, I find that's fair. I think that's fair. Also, if I'm running a game, I don't expect to be buying snacks. I mean, I'll provide my own soda and stuff, but if I'm the one running the game, I expect the snacks to be provided. I am not a huge snacker as I run stuff. Now, we might take a few minutes here and there as a break to kind of munch on something, maybe have a sandwich or whatever. But as we're playing the game, I'm not one that's like, snacking, munching away on stuff. So, Chris Lundgren says, how do you feel about players buying the DM dinner if he hosts games? Yeah, that kind of falls into it. Just like we went and played some games over at Elliot's on Friday. My brother Greg and I went over there, and Elliot's son Brian joined us. And before Brian showed up, we played Roll Through the Ages, and then we played Clank in Space. Elliot really wanted to play Clank in Space, so he had it all set up when we got there. And then we also played some Hero Realms, because I was sort of in the mood for a deck building game, not realizing that Elliot wanted to play Clank in Space. I thought we were going to play the new edition of Robinson Crusoe because he had just gotten his Kickstarter a few days ago, and he said he was going to read the rules and everything, but he said it was a little too in-depth. So Chris Lundgren asks, Savage Worlds versus Fates. I'm far more familiar with Savage Worlds than I am with Fate. I was familiar with Fudge, which essentially is Fate. I would say Savage Worlds is far more simulation than Fate. Fate is more story game. Yeah, but that's about it. Rogue Thinker says riffs. Exactly. Simbita is his own thing. Yeah, it's really strange, and don't know him, never met him. Encountered him at a few conventions, but the shit with that Robotech Kickstarter, right then and there, I was like, because I used to post news from Palladium and stuff. I picked up Mechanoids way back in the day when it was the little, almost like comic book. In fact, they were comic book sized, the books. We're talking early 80s. And I think I picked up Palladium's Fantasy when it first came out. I had Robotech when they did Robotech. Of course, once again, didn't run any of it. But then when all the stuff, and I'm not just talking about screwing people over for their cash, I'm talking the deep dive weirdo shit where somebody said they attempted suicide because of that kind of nonsense. And then Uncle Kevin, as people refer to him as, tried to play that up as one of the reasons why the Robotech wasn't getting fulfilled like it should have. And yeah, people like that, I just don't want to promote. I don't want to promote stuff for people like that. Just recently, we've had that Everyday Heroes fiasco from Evil Genius Games, and the stuff that came out about the mistreatment of people who were working for the company and kind of sleazy sort of tactics that were being used, and freelancers not getting paid for their work. Because remember, I did an Everyday Heroes week, and I was going to review all that stuff. And then that popped up, and I was like, ooh. Nope. Rogue Thinker points out Advanced Recon. There you go. That's another one that we had that we picked up. So there was Recon, and then there was Advanced Recon. Jack Hank says they have a Kickstarter right now for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was another role-playing game I had by them that I had picked up. I was just one of these people. I like to read role-playing stuff and run my Call of Cthulhu. Garland says, Hero Realms is a fun game. Yeah, funny enough, out of the 3 games we played, I won 2 of them. Hero Realms was the one that I did not win. But I won Roll Through the Ages, and then I was the only one to escape I was the only one to escape in an escape pod in Clank in Space. My brother was able to make it to the, I know, it's a little too inside baseball for this game. You can make it to the, I think it's the docking bay or something like that. And if you get to it and your health runs out, it's basically your allies are able to pull you out. You just don't get the victory points for using an escape pod. So my brother survived, but Elliot and his son both took dirt naps during the game, and I helped in that respect. Rogue Thinker says, haven't played many card games since Magic back in the day. What's a good deck builder? Have I tried Shatter Zone? I have not. As far as deck builders, I like deck builders you can kind of get into relatively quickly. If you are looking for a deck builder that's got kind of an engine building and plateau building thing to them, mechanic, I guess I'll say, I highly, highly recommend Everdell. Everdell is a fantastic game. You don't necessarily have to go pick up all the expansions that have come out for it, but it is really, really well done. Hero Realms is from, well, now it's White Wizard Games. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Wise Wizard Games. Used to be White Wizard Games. It's super easy to get into. The rule sheet, at least in the edition that I've got, could have been clearer, but that is certainly like a fantasy deck builder. I like Hero Realms better than I do Star Realms. So I guess part of it makes more sense that like your champions get knocked out in Hero Realms as opposed to, oh, I built this space station and it's been destroyed. It goes into my discard and then I get it back and oh, it's built again. I think that's kind of odd. Carolyn says part of their RPG hobby is collecting and reading games, even ones they'll never actually run. Yeah, exactly. Chris Lundgren says, played the Fantasy Clank. It's a really fun game. I have regular Clank. Chris Q is joining us. Welcome aboard. I'm just about to wrap up here. Says they were relieved when they found out they weren't the only ones who likes to read role-playing game books. And it's kind of funny because a lot of times when I'm reading a role-playing game, adventure especially, I'm usually running through my head how my group of players that I've had over the years would react to things. Because I'm pretty decent at predicting what they're going to do. So Let Me Looser is with us. Says, hi all, first time catching the Dispatch live. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for popping on in. All right, last question here for tonight. So Chris Lundgren, who tends to be one of our main question providers, Let Me Looser says, Thunderstone Quest is their go-to. That is a good one too, but it's a pretty heavy investment cash-wise to get into Thunderstone Quest. It's, at least in my opinion, one of the more expensive. Now, of course, I got the huge cube that I did a review of. I got a review copy of it. And I got to be honest, I don't even know if you can get it from AEG anymore because I really don't cover AEG anymore. All right. So Chris Lundgren says, when the core book for the new Pendragon comes out, will I be looking over it like I did the starter set? As far as I know, I will. So I'll give you an example here. To my knowledge, the Arkham book for Call of Cthulhu, the physical book is out in stores. I got the PDF a month ago. Maybe even a little more than that. They have not sent the physical book out to reviewers, to my knowledge. And I have kind of gone back and forth because, once again, it's somebody new that I'm dealing with over at Chaosium Inc. And I got to be really honest. I shot Michael O'Brien, who's kind of like the bigwig over at Chaosium, an email, which might have pissed him off. But I had basically said to him that it seems like Chaosium nowadays is more concerned with getting coverage from like Dicebreaker, Forbes. We've talked about that nonsense. All these entities that were known for particular coverage, Forbes, economic news, right? That's what we're used. Now they have Dungeons and Dragons articles. They've got, board game articles. It's like, really? It's because they're like Sports Illustrated. As a magazine, they're dead. So essentially, it's like, okay, so what can we float out there that are going to get us clicks? And Dungeons and Dragons articles get clicks. Board gaming articles get clicks. So anyway, so I had mentioned that it seemed as of late, Chaosium Inc. seems far more concerned with getting coverage from outlets who really don't give a shit about Chaosium Inc. That Chaosium Inc. could be anybody. They could be Steve Jackson Games. They could be Palladium. They could be Wizards of the Coast. It doesn't matter to these outlets. There's no skin in the game. So I had mentioned that it felt to me like the outlets who have been covering Chaosium Inc. for years. You figure I've been covering Chaosium Inc. for over a decade, probably about 12 years. And I have been running Call of Cthulhu and buying products from Chaosium Inc., not just Call of Cthulhu. I bought Prince Valiant. I bought Pendragon. So Elliot bought Stormbringer. He bought Hawkmoon, all this stuff. We're kind of being left behind. That, it's sort of like we're seeing, and this was one of the things that led me to that post on Twitter about, it's getting to the point that one of these days I'm just going to say, fuck it, and I am done. Because it's like a lot of these companies, a lot of these publishers, and, I'm not specifically saying Chaosium Inc. is like that. It's just the feeling I have gotten. Because I sort of have the impression that there are people out there who have review copies, physical review copies of Arkham. I don't know that for a fact. I know I could go and buy it if I wanted, but I have no idea if Chaosium's even going to send out a physical book. So the problem I have is it seems like all of these publishers out there are turning their backs on the ones who brought them to the dance. And it's kind of like, okay. It's like, just like I learned, and I'm going to wrap this up. This is going to be the last thing because we're already at hour 45, thereabouts. I had found out from this person I am now dealing with from Chaosium, who's very nice. And they just sent me a whole stack of books, right? So I'm not saying I've got a beef with Chaosium. They've always been very, very nice to me, very respectful to me. All I'm saying is they seem to be one of these publishers who are now falling into this category that I'm talking about, where it's sort of like, let's just go to, let's go to the clickbait. Because we know that or like outlets. There's an outlet that I saw doing a video of something. I'm not going to name the outlet or anything. And one publisher is like, got their nose up this outlet's ass. And I saw this outlet has over 100,000 subscribers. It was like 104,000 subscribers. Yet, their videos on average get about as many views as this show does. 300-400 views. Yet, oh my gosh, they've got 104,000 subscribers, so we got to get on board with them. Well, we know how they got those subscribers. And it's, you're dealing with people who don't seem to even bother to care about that. It's like, oh, well, Jeff, you've only got 12,000 subscribers. These guys have 104,000 subscribers. It's like, yeah. And how many people are watching their videos and tuning out after 2 minutes? So that's something else publishers don't get to see. They don't get to see, or they might be like, oh, wow, did you see that video got 50,000 views? Yeah. And 49,000 of those viewers were done watching after 30 seconds. So anyways, maybe I sound like this is sour grapes. I don't mean it to sound like sour grapes. It's just, there is work involved in doing this. This doesn't just happen by osmosis. It's not like I'm like, all right, Elizabeth Montgomery, do me a favor. I want you to wink your nose around it a little bit. And Barbara Eden, if you could blink for me, we'll get all these videos done and we'll get them all posted on YouTube. All right? Yeah, I know for some of you out there, you might be thinking, who the hell is he talking about? But then there's others of you out there, you're old like me. You're like, I know exactly what Jeff's talking about. Two women from comedies that are like, wow, I got a crush on both of those when I'm 8 years old. All right. Anyway, Chris Lundgren says, it always amazes me how an RPG can be amazing, but the creator's a jerk. That doesn't shock me at all. Funny enough, I've always heard really bad things about Monty Cook, and I interviewed him. He was super nice. Yeah, he was super nice before and after. So just like Todd McFarlane, I've heard some pretty nasty stories about Todd McFarlane, been nothing but nice to me. And it's like, to me, it's like, if you're nice to me, and as long as I haven't heard you abuse children or animals or women or anything like that, it's kind of like, well, okay. Some people don't like you. I'm fine with you. That's fine. So there was mention of RPG Pundit. Don't really know. Kevin King says, tried watching RPG Pundit's reviews, but all he did was compare books to his own. I'm right with you, Kevin. I watched, because somebody had said, hey, Jeff, you should check out RPG Pundit. He's like you. I personally don't think that's the case, but that's okay. Actually, I think he gets way more viewers than me. So yeah, he's not like me. But that was what I had noticed. It was a review of something, and it was an OSR game, and he just kept referring to his own game. And I was sort of like, well, this isn't really a review. You're just here knocking this game and using that to promote your own game. So, anyway, Chris Lundgren says, I am 100% correct. Let Me Looser says, understood completely. Chris also points out there are a groyard and proud. Roger Prudhomme is with us in chat. So Chris Q says Cagney and Lacey. Well, one of the two would have been okay. Carolyn says they're old enough to know. Roger Prudhomme says they've been here hanging out silent for an hour. Victor Gorchev is with us. Good to see you, Victor. Thanks for coming on in. And Cal Venoni is also here. Welcome aboard. I got to be honest, I think a couple of first-time visitors in chat. So anyway, Rogue Thinker's calling it a night, and so shall I. Yes, because my goodness, almost 2 hours on this episode. All righty then. So that's it for this time out. And once again, I'm not like in a bad mood or anything. You just know I'm transparent. I tell you what's going on. So, you know, when I'm sitting there and feeling beat up, I tell you what's happening. Anyway, that's it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as today's first look at Scales and Tails, which is coming in April from Andrews McNeil Publishing and Simon & Schuster. And if you are interested in introducing role-playing games to smaller kids, this looks pretty cool. So I actually took probably a little deeper dive into this than I normally would on a first look. Plus, I also did a first look at the Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 starter set and then reached out to my contacts over at Modiphius Entertainment to double check to see if there was an embargo on coverage, because this isn't even up on the Modiphius websites. And she said, oh yeah, April 8th, because I was going to post it. And I thought, you know what? I better check, because not a usual thing to be sharing a first look at something that you can't find anywhere online. And I'm not joking. I think there was one Reddit post which had like sharing an announcement that had been made that there was going to be an Achtung Cthulhu starter set. So you'll see this on April 8th. I already got to peek inside it, though. Actually, it looks pretty cool. Yes. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you watch live, thank you very much. If you watch live and took part in chat, a bigger thank you, because I certainly appreciate you keeping me company, and I'm sure the rest of you in chat appreciate keeping each other company too. But of course, I know a lot of people out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very kindly for watching any of the videos here on the channel. Don't forget, vote in the March Tabletop Role-Playing Game Madness Contest. Go to the community page for this channel. It's got the 2 entries or 2 divisions. And if you do vote, vote in each of the matchups. Also, don't forget the game sale is in effect. So be sure to swing on over to thegaminggang.com and you will see on the right side, got a little banner ad, or a sidebar ad, I guess I'll say. So you can find out what I've got on sale and all at rockin' prices. Yes. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, hopefully will be tomorrow, I always hope every single one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.